So, me and Adrian have been talking about getting different kinds of videos onto the channel again. You know, diversify the content a little bit, find more ways to get our fun takes out to y'all in, in an enjoyable fashion, not be buried under the endless weight of endless gameplay with 3 camera feeds and special microphones and music and special effects and this is my first attempt at it. Adrian has some ideas about something with sauce or whatever. You gotta ask him about it. As for me, I got this green screen, right? You see this right here? You can't. I keyed it out. But also, I thought this would be a great opportunity to look back at an ancient time, as Commander Legends Baldur's Gate comes around the corner, to remember what came before us, before it's lost in the endless abyss of product. I wanted to take this moment to remember the top 5 cards that impacted me from Streets of New Capenna. And to clarify, this is my list. These are cards that resonated with Calvin Trigger, so, take that as you will. We'll have some slight commentary on what other people from the stack think near the end, but I wrote this for me, about things I like, because if I don't have the guaranteed dopamine while it still works, I will fucking quit and move to China. Hi, my name is Calvin Trigger, and you're watching Trigger on the Stack. Before we get started for top 5, I wanted to have an honorable mention of sorts. Rafine's Tower and the other Triomes from New Capenna. I would say these cards impacted me, but like in an obvious way, right? They finished the Triome cycle from, what the fuck was that set called? Ikoria. They finished the Triome cycle from Ikoria with the Wedge, Wedges and Shards. Shards are when there's a middle color that are allies with the other two, and wedges are when the middle color are enemies with the other two. Shards and wedges. So they finished the cycle from Ikoria. Granted, there's the problem of these triomes having very specific names to them. Rafine's Tower has the character Rafine built into it, which is really unfortunate. They were going to get here eventually, guys. This was a common complaint when the cards were first spoiled, but this was going to happen. There's only so many ways you can delicately and flowery craft up the word for Plains Island. But having the complete set of triomes is fun for deck building, especially if you have access to fetch lands. For example, in my Esika Planeswalker build, I moved from having the 5 Ikoria triomes to having all the swamps, because that lets me cast 5-mana Nicobolas a lot easier and opens up the opportunity to use that weird Liliana that cares about swamps. Yeah, having access to the triomes is really impactful for all formats, but this is like a given. And if this is actually on anyone's top 5 list, I'm gonna find you and I'm gonna eat your porridge. But number 5 for me, if I'm being honest, is Resourceful Defense. This is, what was that card's name? This is the Ozolith, but like for all counters. 1 white, 2 other. Enchantment. Whenever a permanent you control leaves the battlefield, if it had counters on it, put those counters on target permanent you control. And then you may pay a white and 4, move any number of counters from one target permanent you control to another target permanent you control. For example, if one creature had a lot of +1/+1 counters on it, say Yoshimaru, you can activate the ability and move those counters to someone else. Or you can move counters from another creature onto Yoshimaru. What's important is the first effect. It operates like the Ozolith, right? If something leaves the battlefield, if it had counters on it, actually, let's save the counters. Let's put it on something. Do you know what that means? The reason why this is on my list, is because have you heard of the Planeswalker subtype? So people talk about how white isn't a strong color in Commander, and I like to think that one of the reasons that white doesn't get a fair shake in Commander is because people don't lean into the archetypes that white really wants to do. There's the obvious ones like Stacks and Armageddon, but the one that I don't see anyone else really commit to is Planeswalkers. And if you have a Planeswalker deck and it doesn't have white in it, why? Cards. Resourceful Defense is this perfect conclusion to all Planeswalker style decks that it's the secret little enchantment that just lets you tuck away Planeswalkers for no good reason. Resourceful Defense, whenever a permanent you control leaves the battlefield, it will remember those counters. So if, for example, you flicker something, if something leaves play and re-enters play, let's say Yoshimaru had 5 +1/+1 counters on it, and you flickered it for whatever reason. The new Yoshimaru only has 1, but Resourceful Defense is going to remember, hey, there's something left play that had 5 counters on it. What do you want to put those 5 counters on? And you can put them back on the Yoshimaru. Or you can have a Planeswalker. And you can flicker the Planeswalker, say with Emanatu or Felidar Guardian. What happens? Nothing good. The Planeswalker leaves play. It re-enters play as part of the same effect, say Aminatu's minus ability. It enters battlefield with new loyalty counters based on whatever is written on the bottom right, but it triggered Resourceful Defense, and Resourceful Defense is going to remember whatever number of loyalty counters it had before. So, for example, you can flicker the Commander Teferi with Aminatu, and when the new Teferi enters the battlefield, instead of having just 5 loyalty counters, if it was immediately flickered from having 5 before, now it has 10. Just dalt it. You're good. And with the activated ability, this works in any style of counters deck, say +1/+1 counters, or whatever the fuck Ikoria did to the game. But you should play Planeswalker decks more. Everyone should play Planeswalker. Everyone should enjoy more of the things I like. For what it's worth, Jailbreak is here as a sub-mention because it also is a wonderful inclusion into any Planeswalker style deck I want to play. I think right now I have it in my Blood the Blood because that's a budget Planeswalker deck at the moment, but I didn't put it in the actual top 5 because it's a weird one that gives the opponent stuff too, and sometimes you don't want that. Number 4 on my list is Jetmir Nexus of Revels. I looked at all the different demons and I needed to pick one to make sure it was on the list, and this was the one that I made sure was on the list because this is a Naya guy that says your creature tokens fuck. No, that's literally written on the card. For Naya, white, green, red, and one other, it's a legendary creature cat demon, and creatures you control get +1/+0 and have vigilance as long as you have 3 or more creatures. He counts as 1. But also, creatures you control also get +1/+0 and have trample for as long as you control 6 or more creatures. But also, +1/+1 and double strike if you have 9 or more creatures. So if you have 9 creatures, it's +3/+0, vigilance, trample, double strike. This is I'm gonna go as wide as possible, as fast as possible, and slam my overrun effect out of the command zone. It's overrun out of the command zone. And I've seen a lot of people talk about how this has radicalized their play group. I've even seen chatter in CEDH because, suddenly combat is lethal out of nowhere. 9 1/1 tokens, right, are suddenly 4/1 vigilance, trample, double strikers. I don't know the math off the top of my head. It's 9 times 4. 36. It's technically not lethal by itself, but you had creature tokens all along the way, so I'm sure you could have figured it out. Jetmir should be on everyone's list. I have Hollow Fountain here as a honorable mention in this category. Perfect inclusion into the Jetmir style deck, and also serves as a win condition to go wide strategies, mono white getting that little bit of extra love, but it, by itself isn't that impactful to be the top 5. And Grand Crescendo from the Commander precons, create X 1/1 green and white citizen creature tokens. Creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. This is Secure the Waste, but better. You have an additional white pip, and suddenly you have indestructible on command. It's a heroic intervention, but more. This card's great, but it's not Jetmir. This card doesn't win games. Jetmir wins games. Jetmir takes the slot. After that, for number 3, I have Broker's Confluence. Again, this is a list for me. This is a list by me, and this is a list to me. I'm making this video for me. Shut up. Broker's Confluence is one of the 5 confluences that came out of the Commander precons. There was 1 per 3-color combination, and this one is the Bant one. Blue, white, green, 2 other, instant speed. Choose 3. You may choose the same mode more than once. Proliferate, target creature phases out, or counter target activated or triggered ability. So stifle, phase thing, or proliferate. And once again, you're seeing the fact that I really like Planeswalkers show up on this list, but I legitimately think this is the best confluence out of the set. This is the only one that can, out of nowhere, just win the game in the right deck, I think at least. Proliferate 3 times, Atraxa has something to say about that, never mind Planeswalkers. It doesn't replace itself. I believe the Jund Confluence replaces itself, but Proliferate 3 times out of nowhere is really strong in a lot of decks. Stapled with a Stifle. This is my favorite. This is my favorite one. This is the one I want on the list. I don't like any of the other ones that much. This is an instant speed one. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. After that, for number 2. Number 2 on the list, and then we'll be getting into honorable mentions from the other people in the stack. But number 2, I have Tivit, Seller of Secrets. For Esper in 3, we have a 6/6 flying ward 3 creature with Council's Dilemma. Whenever Tivit enters the battlefield or deals combat damage to a player, starting with you, each player votes for evidence or bribery. For each evidence vote, investigate. For each bribery vote, create a treasure token. And then while voting, you may vote an additional time. This is great. For Esper colors, 6 mana, it's a 6-drop. That's a lot for Commander nowadays, but it immediately gives you back 2 mana and 3 clues. Yes, you're going to get 2 treasures and 3 clues. If the people you're playing with decide to give you all treasures all the way down, they wanted you to win. Maybe that was the only way out. Maybe you play in a king-making pod, but they wanted you to. The only correct choice is to give Tivit clues. I'm sorry, did I say Tivit? I meant Sticky Fingers. Sticky Fingers is a 1-mana enchantment aura for red, and it has Enchant Creature. Enchanted Creature has Menace, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. And also, when Enchanted Creature dies, draw a card. This is a 1-mana just start ramping really early on in the right deck. And I'm sorry, did I say Sticky Figure? I meant Smuggler's Share. It is a 1 white, 2 other enchantment with, at the beginning of each end step, draw a card for each opponent who drew 2 or more cards this turn, then create a treasure token for each opponent who had 2 more lands enter the battlefield under their control this turn. It's Raccoon Study, Raccoonistic Study. You know, it's white being able to get more treasure tokens because we need to fix the white problem. Actually, did I say I meant Glittering Stockpile, a red and 2 other artifact treasure. Tap, add red to your mana pool, put a stash counter on Glittering Stockpile, and then tap, sack it, add X mana of any one color, where X is the number of stash counters on Glittering Stockpile. It's a 3-mana rock that could become more than just 1 mana because, you know, it's a treasure. Actually, I'm sorry, I meant Professional Facebreaker. 1 red, 2 other. It's a creature human warrior for 2 and a 3. It has Menace, and whenever 1 or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. Sacrifice a treasure. Exile the top card of your library. You may play that card. I'm sorry, I meant Misfortune Teller. A 1 black, 3 other human warlock, a 3/1 with Death Touch, and when it ETBs or deals combat damage to a player, exile target card from a graveyard. If it was a creature card, create a 2/2 black rogue token. If it was a land card, create a treasure token. Otherwise, gain 3. I'm sorry. Indulge in Excess. Indulge makes a bunch of 1/1 green and white citizen creature tokens that's tapped and attacking, and then Excess creates a treasure token for each creature you control that dealt combat damage to a player. Actually, that reminded me, Life Insurance. It's a 1 white, 1 black, 3 other enchantment, Extort, so you can start gaining life off it. And whenever a non-token creature dies, you lose a life and create a treasure token. That means when your opponent's stuff die, you create treasure tokens. Treasure tokens, wait a minute. I meant Prosperous Partnership. 1 white, 1 red, 1 other enchantment, ETBs, create 2 1/1 green and white citizen creature tokens. And if you have a 3rd creature, you know, the Priest, you can make a treasure token by tapping them all. Actually, wait, nope, I meant Bootlegger Stash. Lands you control can make treasure tokens. Lands you control can make treasure tokens. Lands you control can make treasure tokens. Are there enough treasure tokens? Are you happy? Are you happy, Watsy? My toe is numb. It's cold down here. Yeah, I put her here. What are you gonna do? I own it. Her. I own that art. I own that art of her. No one owns her. She's the concept. She doesn't exist. Magic doesn't exist either. It's just a concept. In case it wasn't understood, number 2 goes to treasure tokens. Before I move on to number 1, for me, I want to talk about the other people in the stack for a second. When I asked Guy Scott what he thought was the best card out of New Capenna, at least the card that impacted him the most, he responded Jetmir. And then I said, no, I already have that on the list. So then he responded Giada, Font of Hope. This is the Angel legendary creature, you know, Angel Tribal. It's the 2-mana rock out of the command zone, but for angels only. But then angels ETB with more +1/+1 counters equal to the number of other angels you control, which means as you play more angels, they get bigger and bigger. And I was honestly surprised at the first game I played against it. It was scary. I have to give other beatdown strategies a better chance. It doesn't help that she's mono white. I really wish she had blue in her. Yes, blue. I understand. There's Orzhov angels, but I really like that Linvala from that one Zendikar set. There's no joke here. When I asked Adrian Hunter what his favorite card out of New Capenna was, he answered Ledger Shredder. 1 blue, 1 other. It's a Bird Advisor, a 1/3 flyer. And whenever a player casts their 2nd spell each turn, Ledger Shredder connives. You know, draw a card, discard a card, and if it was a not land, put a +1/+1 counter on it. It tracks every player, so you know, in a commander game, it's going to track all 4 players, and you could set it up just right to profit yourself. It's just a 2-drop. But also, it's like a $16 card, not because of commander. Adrian answered because he plays a lot of modern and pioneer and not commander formats. He plays the most Magic out of anyone I know. When I asked Aiden what his favorite card out of New Capenna was, he answered Rocco Cabaretti. When I asked Aiden what his favorite card out of New Capenna was, he answered Rocco Cabaretti. He answered Rocco Cabaretti. When I asked Aiden what his favorite card out of New Capenna was, he answered Rocco Cabaretti Caterer. Deny an X for a 3/1. It's Wargate. It's Wargate for creatures in the command zone. And then it's a 3/1, so you can skull clamp it. Also, it's an elf, so you know. I can't remember the name of the card. I guess I put it up on screen. Editor, put it up on screen. Okay, editor, I did it. And for me, for the number one thing that impacted me the most since the last set released, well, that honor has to go to Contraverse Holds, the Warlock exotic arm piece. It has the perk Chaotic Exchanger, resist incoming damage while charging your Void Grenade. Charge Void Grenade, return grenade energy on a hit. And I've been rocking these things since forever. With this Judgment, Ariana's Vow, and Half-Truths, I have this match game, flawless loadout that lets me solo flawless any of the dungeons right now, especially since the resilience change, making it so you have 40% damage reduction. I can't fucking die. That's it. That's all I got for you. Thanks for tuning in. If you like this, be sure to hit a button on the bottom. Man, I don't know what to say here. I've at least edited 5 videos from this other YouTuber that has a go-to list of things to say at the end. I don't have that list of things to say. I'm in a weird place right now. I have a green screen. It's right here. Bye.